stand as one, walk with thousands.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dad Bods and Beards. We've got a fun one today. We've got a deep one today. We have got a guest in studio today, Portia Louder, and we will get to her introduction in a moment. But before we do, like always, wanted to highlight our primary sponsor, Mountain Ops. We are coming up on renewing our relationship with Mountain Ops.
Hopefully.
But we've been working with Mountain Ops for just over a year. We met Trevor last August when we went to the Connect and Conquer event, and didn't know at that time that we would not only make a great friendship with probably one of the best humans to ever walk the planet. That dude is genuinely kind. But then one of the first companies to take a chance on us.
You work out at Connect and Conquer. They do 4 areas, so you hit physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Like you hit all areas.
Yeah.
And the physical, he brought in a guy who likes to kill you, and then you had to run. And I can't run. I can now.
You can now.
But at the point, I couldn't run. There's no way. And so Trevor just walked with me the whole way. Oh. And that's when we started our weight loss journey too.
Yeah. But we utilize Mountain Ops every single day. Tyson obviously has an obsession with the
Rocky Mountain Ricky. Have you had a Lime Ricky?
No.
See, okay, we're literally not going there. Tyson thinks everybody knows what a Lime Ricky is, and they're the most
Do you know what a Lime
drink.
Ricky is? Yes. Her daughter's
We've
off.
got
Yeah.
Portia's daughter off
We got the
camera,
coolest
and he's
kid in
like,
town.
Yeah.
So.
But
I think it's just so weird.
it's a yummy drink. But if you want to try it, you can go and check it
We'll
out.
do the Lime Ricky thing.
But like always, use code DADBODS at checkout. You'll get 20% off everything that you order, and then a portion of those proceeds go to feeding families who are struggling to feed themselves. So an amazing company that regardless of what happens with relationships with us, we will forever be grateful for them and their influence and what they're doing for the community. So without further ado, Portia, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having
It's
me.
always kind of a fun intro when we're like, welcome to Dad Bods and Beards. And then it's like, we're introducing, a woman. And so it's like, but we've had a lot of amazing women on the
We
show.
have lots of them.
One of our most impactful episodes is actually somebody who's become a very close family friend of my wife and our daughter and our son.
Yeah.
She lost a husband to suicide a number of years ago.
Yeah.
And getting her perspective on the show on a primarily men's mental health podcast was a game changer.
Sure.
And so she kind of helped blaze the trail a little bit of like, oh, there's some outside perspectives outside just talking to dudes that I think we need to bring in this. And the mutual friend, as most of our guests on the show, is Sean Finnegan. We love Sean.
Shout out to Sean.
We need to get Sean back on the show. We had Sean on, a year ago.
He's been on 2. The one with Josh.
Oh, and Zach. Oh, yeah, Josh.
Yeah,
We went to,
Josh Altman.
we got to go to LA and
Let me just tell you about Sean. So we'll get into my story a little bit, but some of the hard things that I went through, I lived in a really high-end, nice community. Sean also lived in that community. I don't want to be a spoiler alert here, but I did go to prison, and I left that community. And when I got back, I started just writing about my experiences. And Sean reached out to me and just said, Portia, what can I do to help you? How can I support you? You're amazing. I love your story. And he read my book and just has been so supportive. So
you knew
really
Sean
like,
before
yeah,
all this?
no, not really. That's the thing.
Okay.
We lived in that community. When I left, my husband and children stayed in that community, but I was in total chaos leading up to that. And we moved right before I went to prison. So I really didn't know him, but a lot of the community knew who I was. I reached out, and this is kind of moving forward a little bit, but when I was sentenced and found out I was going to prison, I figured, what do I have to lose? So I reached out on Facebook and I just said, friends, people that know me, I get it. I did something really rotten and I'm going to prison. Will you please support my family? My husband and my kids are going to need your support.
Sure.
And the community was amazing. And Sean was one of those people.
That's cool.
So,
I'm not surprised because he's just
He's a
an
great
all-around
guy.
good dude. And then if you are in his inner circle, he tells everybody
Yeah.
about you and what you do. And I feel like we can't go to a single networking event without Sean's like, where's the dad bods? Like, where are they at? Bring them over. And so we get all this like free networking and marketing.
I just wrote a book, and I asked him to put an excerpt in it, just like Logan. And
Oh, way cool.
his was really, really cool, and it was all about relationships, because he's really good at that. And I asked him the importance of relationships and mental health and stuff like that. And what he had to say was amazing. And so he is really good at that.
Yeah. Well,
So-
here we
Yeah,
are.
he's very blessed with that talent.
So let's introduce yourself a little bit. So anybody who doesn't follow you yet, which we've talked about off camera, you are gaining quite the following on social media just
Yeah.
by sharing your story.
Yeah.
So for anybody, what's the quick snapshot that would lead people over to your social media of
Yeah.
like, who are you? What, I mean, we'll get to all the fun stuff.
All the
but-
stuff, yeah. My name's Portia Louder, and I was a photographer, got involved in some real estate transactions that were illegal that took me to prison. I've been home now for 6 years. I was gone for 5, and I'm a mental health coach, and I do a lot of stuff on social media, work with the homeless, with youth that are struggling with addiction and mental health. And so people can find me on pretty much any platform and PortiaLouder.com.
So what, if you don't mind me asking, right? So I'm not gonna say like, what led you to prison? It's just sort of kind of like, I want to go to like the oh crap moment
Yeah.
if we can.
Yeah, but I'm going to give you just a little bit of a lead up.
No, but I was listening to your podcast with Comeback.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
I'm going to give you, because
Because it started from when you were a kid.
I was a kid. Yeah. So I'm the oldest of 7 kids. I grew up kind of off the grid in the country. My dad had PTSD. He'd been shot twice in Vietnam. And my mom was like this super hippie that believed in no rules or boundaries. Just if anyone will get this, like I've never seen my mom wear a bra. Like she's that kind of hippie.
I've never seen Logan either.
Not yet. No, she's 78 though. She's still like living free. My mom is the coolest person, but she didn't believe any rules or boundaries. And so I struggled with rules and boundaries. By the time I was 12 or 13, my first real struggle, I didn't do well in school. My parents were LDS, didn't do great with any kind of rules, so that wasn't working for me. And I started thinking that what boys thought of me was the most important thing. So relationships were a problem for me. And when you're 13, dating boys that are 16 and 17 doesn't end up great. And that was how it worked for me. I was pregnant by the time I was 17 with my first kid, moved into low-income apartments, really just thought if I could find somebody to marry me, everything would work out. And there are people out there that will marry you. I met one of them. He was 10 years older than me. He was 28. I was 18. And he made me this really great offer. He's like, hey, Portia, you should marry me because I can take care of you. The magic words, right? True romance. So we got married, wasn't going great. And then my parents and all my brothers and sisters moved to Salt Lake. So I had never been to Salt Lake. That's how small my world was. I lived in southern Utah, and I came up to visit. And I remember the first time I came over the point of the mountain and saw the city, Salt Lake City, I was like, there's like a whole world out here. I don't have to stay in that town. Like I could get a
What
job.
city?
It was Richfield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know
but we
quite a
lived
few
like
people out there.
on the outskirts of Richfield. So back to my class reunion's coming up, and I'm going to go back. Might be the first one I'll go back to, but I'm finally ready. But anyway, so I decided I wanted to move to Salt Lake and get a job and start my life. And I told my husband when I got home, and he's like, yeah, I'm never leaving this town. We don't even get along. Why don't you just go live with your parents and
Oh,
we'll get
wow.
divorced? So yeah, it was like, okay.
was
So
like-
yeah, we're done. You can tell the commitment was firm for us.
Yeah.
So we got divorced. We knew each other about a month when we got married, and we got divorced. Took about a week. I moved to Salt Lake and found out I was pregnant with my daughter not long after I got to Salt Lake. So I remember that being a pretty lonely time for me. I was young, pregnant with my second. My little boy was attached, like
To
this
your
was
hip, yeah.
hard. Yeah. And so my dad knows that I'm super stubborn. He suggested, I won't jump into a ton of faith stuff, but my dad just told me that I might want to consider trying a path that included God in the picture. And I said, why would I want to do that, Dad? And he goes, because you're smarter than that and you've tried everything else but that. And so that was the first time that I even opened the door to it. When my daughter was born, I did let my parents take her to church. I went to church. My dad gave her a blessing. And I remember looking around again and thinking, everyone here's happy and they're all married. I just got to find somebody to marry me. Everything will be fine if I do that.
Telling yourself what the answer was.
Yeah. I mean, instead of you just have to become the person that's okay with yourself, right?
Yeah.
Something outside of me will solve this. Started dating again. I'm not very good at the dating thing, and I ended up getting pregnant again. So I was 23, pregnant with my third, had 2 children, no child support, no father. And I was scared. Like I don't remember being too scared up to that point in my life. I was really scared. So I said a pretty serious prayer and felt this strong impression that I should place my son for adoption. And it wasn't easy. You know, I share that story on social media and I get a lot of supportive comments, but I get a lot of sideways comments. And it's the one thing that's hard for me to hear sideways comments about because it was such a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Like I made that decision in absolute.
Just to kind of verify, like, make your comment valid, it's just like a lot of my family is adopted.
Yeah.
And there's so much love and so much like welcome. Like you don't know any difference from someone being adopted and someone who's not. And we've always known we were adopted.
Yeah.
But it was just like it didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
That's mom and that's dad, no matter what.
Right.
And so, sorry to interrupt, but it's just like
No,
that's
great.
That's
It's a tender
really,
subject. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like when people look at it, it's like that you gave up. I'm like, no, if anything, they gave you a life.
Right.
Because my dad was my biological everything. They were alcoholics,
Right.
into drugs, and
Right.
it was time. Like he was doing me a favor. He was
Yeah.
giving someone who loved me an opportunity to be my parent. So
I love that you shared that because I've
I've
been
never shared that.
Yeah, I love that you shared that because I'll have people say you destroyed your son's life and no matter what he'll never be okay, and I'm like you need to step off. Like you don't know, you haven't talked to him. That's sacred ground. So I made that decision. The parents were wonderful. They were there with me through the pregnancy, and they were there in the room the day that he was born. And I remember watching them hold him. It was a really cool experience because they were so supportive, and I needed the support. I was young, and as soon as he was born, I watched them hold him for the first time, and then they walked out of the room, and I just felt empty. And I think it was, nobody talked about mental health then. Nobody talked about trauma. I didn't have a therapist. I thought, I'll just go back to work. I'll just pound through this, and I'll be okay. And I wasn't. It just wasn't okay. And I tried to go back to work. I felt this emptiness inside that had grown to a place that I couldn't deal with anymore. So I started using first prescription drugs to numb it out. I thought, well, I just need more drugs that'll make it okay if I can just get enough drugs. There's never enough drugs for anybody that's an addict. And I ended up going from prescription drugs to street drugs, lost my job, and my life got a lot worse. I was gone all the time.
May I ask what was going on with the children at the time?
My parents were taking care of my two children. The family that chose to adopt my son had stepped back, which makes sense with struggles I was facing. And I remember coming home late one night, and when I walked in to my parents' house, my oldest son was 8 years old. And he had been standing by a window crying, waiting for me, and my mom was standing there with him. And when I walked in, my mom looked at me and she goes, Portia, all this little boy cares about is you. And if that's not enough for you, whatever would be? And I remember walking downstairs that night with my son, and I laid on the floor in fetal position and sobbed and just said, I can't live like this anymore. And my sweet little boy, he's like your age. He's 36 now.
That's him. I'm 40.
Okay.
46 this year.
He's like your age. He's so sweet.
He's a sweet, sweet little boy.
He has a beard. He has a beard. We should invite him on the
like him
show.
already.
He's so sweet. But anyway, he's always been sweet. He just said, Mom, why are you so sad? And I said, Jace, I'm such an ugly person. And he goes, no, Mom, you're beautiful. Come look in the mirror, Mom. He pulls me into this mirror and he goes, see, Mom, look at you. And that night, I made a promise. I said, I will go to any length to change my life. I can't do this to my kids anymore. And the next day, I went and asked my dad. I said, Dad, I need help. I don't know what to do. And he's like, well, I'm sick of trying to help you. You're on your own. Now, my dad is like, had it, right? He's like, you got to figure this out. He's like, why don't you go across the street and talk to our LDS bishop? Now, here's the thing. I mean, I had not been active in the church at all, right? But I went across the street, and here's how you know you have a good bishop. He invited me in. He's invited someone over to share their story. And he also said, Portia, you might be the most selfish person I've ever met, which is true. It was true. When somebody will speak the truth to you and they care about you, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like I knew he was in my corner. But he also gave me every kind of tool a person could give me. And he made me promises. He's like, if you do this and you do this and you do this, your whole life will change. And I was so desperate for the whole life change that I did what he said. And it was really hard. It was hard because I was trying to keep my word to myself and to my kids, and I felt uncomfortable. And I walked away from any friends or people that I knew that were using any kind of substances. And
That's hard.
it was hard. It was really hard. I thought it would be the hardest thing I would ever have to do. And it wasn't. There's always something harder.
Oh, yeah.
But at that point I thought, and I remember
I hate that too.
Yeah, don't say it. Don't say this will be the hardest thing. You're asking for it. But 6 months later, I was a different person. My whole life had changed. And I remember feeling very free. And then I met my husband. Now, at this point, I know I'm not looking for a man because they're not going to solve my problems. I am the problem, right?
So you had figured it out.
Yeah, I knew it's me. And he's amazing. Like, my husband is amazing. I have no idea how I tricked him into marrying me. None.
That's how I feel about my wife. I should show you a picture. Everyone else is like, what?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because Chad had just graduated college. He didn't have any trauma. He just looked so sweet.
Yeah.
He had these blue eyes and this happy smile. He had no pain like I had, And the first date we went on, I said, Chad, what scares you the most about me? He's like, Portia, everything about you scares me. Like, for real, which is so valid. It took me a while to talk him into it,
Like, I think I love you.
Oops. Yeah. But we got married. And he adopted my kids. And this is the part where I
amazing.
want to say we lived happily ever after, right? But we know there's more to the story. I started my own photography business. I had been working for family, and we bought a little house in American Fork, Utah. And then my life got really good. I was super grateful for what I had. I am a hustler. Let's just get that on the table. I am a hard worker.
Oh yeah, you were telling us how many podcasts you've done and what you're doing. I'm like, dang.
I grind. I work hard, and so I started out at 20 or 30 weddings a year, and ended up with 200 weddings a year on my books. That's a lot of weddings.
I have a hard time sitting through one wedding. As a guest.
I
You're
was
working
running.
them,
I'm working, doing 3 on a Saturday. I'm doing engagements and bridals until late at night. Of course, I had 2 more kids because that's just what I do, right? I just have 2 more kids. I just keep having them.
What's 2 more?
2 more, 18 months apart.
My wife and I have 6, so we.
Oh,
we
you
understand.
get it. So
we get
you
it.
would get it when I said I just had 2 more, like it's nothing.
I got 2.
Yeah, no.
I just look at my wife.
I
she
have
gets
given
pregnant.
birth to 6, so yes. So when I had the second one, I had a nanny. I knew I needed to build a house because our home was just a studio. It had turned into just nothing but a studio. So we started building a home. The market's going crazy, and my back went out. Had to have back surgery. So when I had the surgery, I relapsed on prescription drugs. And I could go into it. There's like a story behind it, but it's not. There's so many different stories. So we'll just note
Whatever
that,
you feel is most valid.
Well, I feel for me, I know this about myself. I cannot take 1/2 of a Lortab. It changes my brain. I cannot use any kind of narcotic. It's how it works for me.
I'm very similar. Is that I didn't realize with my mental health history. Everyone on the show has heard this a million times over, but I'm bipolar.
Yeah.
And I was on heavy doses of Adderall that I eventually ended up
I've used it.
abusing.
Yeah, me too.
And so I steer as far away from any kind of amphetamine stimulants. Like even when I was, first starting to take care of my health, my doctor put me on an appetite suppressant, which was an amphetamine of sorts, and I couldn't
Can't
take
do
it.
Yeah.
And even down to the fact that even though I'm not a member of the church and everything like that anymore, I still choose not to drink because I know the addictive personality. If I find that one drink that I like,
Right.
I'm gonna have 15 of them.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna chase that high, that buzz, because I've
felt-
been down the
Well,
road
Adderall will
of-
throw you into a real good mania too, because I've been there too. I use lots of different drugs. So.
I've had conversations with demons from another world because of Adderall.
I know them too.
I
I've
remember
met
what they
them.
look like. I know what they sound like. I remember their names.
Yeah.
And I find myself, maybe you and I can relate on this for a second. I find myself watching supernatural shows because it's almost kind of like this little oh, that demon seems so theatrical or whatever. But
He's real.
I remember looking at these guys standing there talking to me.
And I just I got my knee replacement. I'll get surgery, all that kind of stuff. They'll say, "What do you want?" I'm like, ibuprofen, because I
Bless
hate.
you.
No, it's not because of any other reason. I don't like how I feel on those.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people love that feeling.
When
I freaking hate
I
it.
take 1/2 of those and my brain goes, "This is the best you, Portia." Immediately, this is the best you. I was so terrified because I've been sober now for 10 years.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But when I came home from prison, I thought, what if I get in an accident? What if I get in a car wreck? Because I know 1/2 just changes the brain. And I was, I actually tore my hamstring off the bone.
Oh,
Had to be taken to the
that's
hospital.
That's kind of serious.
It was very serious.
Yeah.
It racked up. I no longer have a hamstring. I did not have them do the surgery to reattach it because it was a couple month recovery on pain pills. So I choose
It's
to
a
live
really good
without.
excuse not to run
I will
anymore.
never run again, and I'm okay with it. I will live sober because I would rather die than relapse. That's how serious my addiction
Wow.
is. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm okay being without the hamstring, but I can't relapse. It's taken too much from me. So
But see, an ibuprofen is everything. Like when I got my knee replacement, dude, it
works for you.
took
You're
all
so
my pain away.
vanilla.
You're so vanilla. It's a good way to say it.
That's a
Yeah. Good for you.
Tylenol doesn't work.
I'm like Neapolitan, man.
No, I took Loratab one pill and I hate it and I won't do it again.
Yeah.
See, I would be coming at your house looking in your cupboards for the pills. Oh, I know he doesn't like them. I will go. Let's visit. Let's meet at your house.
We've had one of our really good buddies on the show a couple weeks ago, not a couple months ago, and he had some extreme bouts with addiction.
Yeah,
And
severe.
his wife was
Left him.
is a nurse.
Yeah.
And what she ended up doing for him is she got this big old whiteboard and she started writing all of the side effects from different prescription drug abuse
Yeah.
that he was on, and she like put it in his face.
Yeah.
And she was this.
That wouldn't matter
this-
to me.
Well, and that's the
Didn't
thing.
matter to him.
It didn't matter to him
Okay,
either.
good. I'm like, people,
Well-
it's how when you're an addict, you'll go to any length.
Well, that's
you're
what
like,
he was
those little
saying.
things, choop, choop. I
She
don't
used
care.
that as like a way to try to get through to him. And then when that didn't work, she just was like,
Laugh.
hey, I'm taking your kids and I'm going.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, and even still after that, he's like, it took
Yeah.
more. I mean, we're sitting here telling you things that you already know, but like as someone who I dealt with a level, mine was on the medical side, and I eventually hit a point where they took it away from me.
Right.
And they stopped prescribing me, put me on this like,
Yeah.
red list versus, ibuprofen over here. And then what you've been through is that like,
You can
it's,
call me Percocet.
yeah. But like, that's the thing.
But
is
I
people-
take 800.
yeah.
Ooh.
But I love the self-awareness, and that's
Yeah.
what a lot of people don't realize is that like there are coping mechanisms that people develop, but then it's when you become self-aware that it becomes a dependency. And then it becomes an
Self-awareness is
addiction.
one of the most important positive mental health attributes. Like because I work
100%
with
agree.
so many different people, kids included. I'm like, if you can gain self-awareness, it takes away the shame. It's like, okay, this is what I've got. This is what I'm working through. And so for me, at that point, I didn't have that. I was trying to hustle. And now the other thing about me is when I use drugs, I also like to hustle, which means that I'm making money. I like to ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. And so I got involved in what was called equity deals in the 2005 to 2008 range. Turns out they're illegal.
Yeah.
Did you know it at the time?
Not when I got involved, not when I started, but I felt it in the gut.
That's
you ever
fair.
done that where
Yeah.
you're like, probably shouldn't do this and kept doing it anyway? Yeah, I had that going on. But I started hearing that I was under federal investigation, and that's scary. Like when the FBI shows up at your house and talks to all your friends, nobody likes that. That was
Yeah,
really
because once they get involved, it's past. It's
yeah.
past that. Like if
Well,
they're-
and think about it from this view. I'm like, I already climbed out of being a single mother and an addict. I already placed a child for adoption. You can't take me to prison.
Yeah.
I can't come back from that. My husband won't stay. I have children. My daughter, CJ, who's 17, was literally 3 months old in my arms when the FBI showed up at our house. I've got a new baby. You can't do this. I'll do anything. You can have anything, but I can't go to prison. And they don't care. That's not the way it works with the federal
Yeah.
government. It's like you're up against a brick wall, and the wall is your own weaknesses, which I was never aware of. Like I thought I was fighting them. I was fighting myself, my own pride and my addiction and all of those things. And eventually, after years, this drug on for years, I was indicted in 2011. And then I walked into a federal courthouse. I finally pled guilty. I drug it out so long that they indicted my husband.
Oh.
Yeah, they weren't going to. Like, they literally told me, look, we can wrap him up in a conspiracy. They told him, you should leave her. Like, if you stand by her, there's this risk to
Yeah.
you. And he lived in the home and I used his credit. So he wasn't involved in what I was doing, but it doesn't matter.
Accessory
right?
to it,
Yeah,
essentially,
it's a
yeah.
conspiracy. Anyone that's in the home it's a conspiracy. And so they superseded my indictment, included my husband. And at this point, it's war. I'm like, I'm going to trial, which I would have lost. But I thought, I'll go to trial and I'll fall on the sword and I'll say it was me because now I have everything to lose. And it was just the worst thing. It was so awful. And when I finally walked into a federal courthouse, first of all, I had full-on mental breakdown prior.
No, how could you
Full
not?
on mental. No, I was standing in the courthouse a couple weeks before I was supposed to go to trial, and in the courtroom next to ours, the U.S. Marshal shot a guy on his first day of trial. Now, this is very unusual to happen in a courtroom, but it did happen. He stood up. He was a gang member with a pencil in his hand and planned to injure the guy that was on the stand, and the marshal shot him. So that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
They come walking. The marshal came running through our courtroom. They locked it down. I walked out the front and did an interview with the news, which I shouldn't have done because I'm ready to go to trial as well. My lawyers, everybody's upset. And the next day they revoked my pretrial release and put me in a county jail. So I had a full-on mental breakdown. Like I quit speaking for 7 solid days. I couldn't speak. I couldn't answer my name, nothing, and went through some extreme trauma. They left me in a cell for like 11 days, which was totally traumatic, and finally pled guilty, which I should have done a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it took that. It took me snapping to finally plead guilty. And 6 months later, they let me out. I had 6 months until I would be sentenced. And I remember before I walked in the courtroom that day thinking, well, maybe I'll get a year. I was facing 0 to 7 years. Maybe I'll get probation. I don't have a criminal history. And as soon as I walked in the courtroom, I knew I could feel the weight of it. They're going to give me the maximum sentence. I have made everybody mad. I've drugged this out. I probably deserve it. They're going to max me out today. And that's what they did. Gave me 84 months in federal prison, which is 7 years. And it was devastating. I remember looking back at my husband and my kids and thinking, this is going to take a long time to be okay, So.
Well, I think that's the heavy note of like, this is going to take a long time to be okay. And I feel like that's, I might honestly use that as the title of the episode, because that's one thing that we probably touch on that without touching on it, is that nothing is an overnight fix.
Right.
Whether it's your mental health, whether it's, financial situations, relationship situations, like self-awareness issues, things like that, is that it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And it takes that constant push. So you talk about how heavy the courtroom was.
Yeah.
Was that your kind of the oh crap moment? This is all.
That was the death of my former self. There was also freedom in it, right? I've been fighting for so long and afraid. I was on the 10 o'clock news. I mean, I walked out and my older kids took the younger kids home, and Chad and I drove. They gave me 8 weeks to say goodbye to my family. That 8 weeks, it's like impending doom.
Yeah.
Was it almost kind of like too much?
It was, I don't even know. I wish I would have done better. I cried for 3 days.
It's like the Hunger Games. You're about to.
Yeah, I wish I would have been so much smarter. Like I would have called my kids in and set them down and got a therapist and said, "Let's talk about this. How are you?" I wish I would have prepared them, but I just cried. All I could do is look at my kids. I watched them sleep. I drove my son to school, and I wondered how I could have been such a fool. Like how could I have traded everything important, time with my kids, for money?
Did you think back to kind of what your mom had said with your son of like?
Oh
this?
yeah. I'm like, what have I done? It was just devastating. And I remember the last night I spent at home, CJ was in bed with us, and Chad just put his arms around me, and I just sobbed. And he's like, Portia, I'll take care of our kids. I promise it'll be okay. And the next morning, my mom came and picked up my kids. I remember CJ's face because she was little. She was 7. She had tangles in her hair, and I just remembered that. And then he dropped me off. Now, they don't have federal prisons in Utah, so this was a 14-hour drive for me. And then I walked into FCI Dublin, which was a higher security federal prison, 1,000 women. They've closed it now for all kinds of problems.
It's in Nevada, right?
It's in California,
Oh,
Oakland,
that's
right outside of Oakland. And I can't even describe the devastation. I couldn't get out of my bunk for 3 days. I was literally so brokenhearted. And for me, this was one of the most powerful spiritual moments I've ever had, and it's happened in prison in a jumpsuit. I got on my knees.
We hear that a lot.
Yeah. I was at my weakest point, and I just said, listen, God, I have failed everyone in my life, and I am in the deepest hole, and I can't see my way out. I just need to know who I am to you. And sitting in federal prison, I felt more loved than I've ever felt in my entire life, like completely known and connected to everyone on this earth. Like I felt this deep connection of love and understanding of who I was. And that's crazy because all my life I thought I needed something outside myself. And in that moment I was like, I'm perfectly enough. Like I'm amazing. And all the women in prison, I looked at them so different because of that experience. And it wasn't like, here's what I learned. When you know who you are, you can do really hard things. You have to know who you are. And it took me all of that to get to a place where I was low enough that I would ask, who am I and why am I on this earth? And it was hard. I was gone for 5 years. I watched my children grow up without me. I watched them. I had teenagers that were growing 6 months or 6 inches every year. And I saw them once a year because we were financially broke. He couldn't just run out and see me. I was transferred all over to different prisons. So it was very hard and very purifying. If I'm being honest, the pain of that experience purified me. And by the end of my prison sentence, here's the crazy thing. I really liked myself. I'm sitting in federal prison looking in the mirror and going, I've never felt better about me. Like, isn't that crazy?
Well, I like what you said hit me really hard of like, when you know who you are, you can do hard things like that. Like, you would hope that not everybody has to go to federal prison to feel that way. Right. But at the same time, the fact that you found that self-awareness in a place that the layman, most people who've never experienced anything remotely close
it's evil
to,
and terrible.
they're just kind of like, oh no, this is your punishment. You're not allowed to feel happy here. You're not allowed to find yourself here. Of course, they found Jesus in prison. Like you see all those people,
Jesus free,
right? But that's the thing is that like the reoccurring theme that we come across when we talk to different people who have these life-breaking stories,
right,
is that it's like, I found myself there.
Yeah.
I had no excuses left.
Right.
Everything was stripped away. I had no one else left
to blame
but myself to look in the mirror.
You could. It took me 2 solid years of being pissed off at the government. Okay.
Sure.
I'm being
well,
honest.
you're a
the
human.
Process,
yeah, you're
the
a human.
process, the denial, the bargaining, the anger, all of it. I grieved those years without my kids. But what I finally realized was I am the common denominator of all my problems. The freedom is I did this to myself, and I hurt everyone I love, and I reached out and said, tell me how I hurt you. Give me an opportunity to make it right. And now I get to do whatever I want because I am the author of my story, right? Like if I chose everything up to this point, I can choose something different. As long as I'm a victim and I'm blaming somebody else, I am basically waiting for somebody else to come and solve my problems. The government's never going to come apologize. I'm going to be waiting a long time for them to say, we screwed up. It was me. And I actually sat under a tree in prison and had conversations with the judge and the prosecutor and said, hey, I was a fool. Sorry, it was me. Because I needed to like cleanse all of that. I was so stuck in the victim mentality. And most people in prison are. But there were some that weren't, and they were the guides. And they taught me like how to find my way, how to get out of that.
That accountability, taking accountability.
It's where the power lies.
And like I love that you said that. And it's like you kind of inadvertently learn to free yourself of the guilt of like I've paid
I
my
freed myself. I never felt
price.
freer. I felt so free. I mean, liberty's one thing, right? They can take away your liberty, but freedom, that's in your soul. Like I was way more shackled and chained out here than I was in prison. And when they say, oh, nothing good happens in prison. Oh yeah, we don't have cell phones. We actually connect. We talk. We like get to know each other. I watch girls out in the rec yard playing softball and laughing and dancing. Girls that are covered in scars that have been abused most of their life. That kind of stuff is like beautiful.
Well, our friend Kyle, we told you he spent
opposite
10
kind of
years.
experience.
Well, but in a sense,
men are different.
In a sense that he said, but at the same time is that there is a level of respect that exists in I mean, he was in like
right.
max security.
I've done time in max security. I was at the Utah State Prison recently with people that are completely locked down for life that will never leave prison. So I understand there's some differences. Female and males are different. Women are more codependent. Men are a little bit more violent.
Yeah. Well, he talked about the fact that when his day came to be released, he said, out of respect for the fact that there's guys in there that will never see the light of day again, he's like, you don't show all this crazy emotion. You just, you take your final walk out of the block.
Girls
quietly.
don't do that. They all came out and cheered for me when I walked out.
That's so interesting. That's so interesting.
Girls make birthday presents and they decorate everything. Girls and boys are different in prison.
That's interesting. So, so with all of that, we talked about. We've got a buddy. His name's Curtis. That he runs a show that actually I think I want to refer you to his. He talks about something called counterfeit emotions. He talks about addiction recovery, and his biggest thing is that he teaches that we are addicted to guilt and shame more than we are. I mean, in a sense, obviously you talked about the chemical changes that happen with different substances and things like that. But when you overcome that guilt and that shame, that's where the true change.
So for me,
Happens.
the way I do that is honesty is my highest value, which means that my kids can tell me if they're struggling. Mom, I looked at pornography. Mom, I vaped. Mom, I lied. Mom, whatever it is, they know that they will be honored for their honesty because that's
that.
where I failed. When I was a kid, I made, and part of it was being,
How do you honor that?
I don't flip out.
Okay.
Yeah, I listen. And
What's that like?
it's really hard because truthfully, I have parents all the time that say, I want to connect with my kid. My kid won't talk to me. And I'm the one that I do mental health groups. So I'm the one meeting with their kids. And I'm like, but can you hear what they have to say?
Ooh. And did you learn that in prison? Because I remember you ran groups and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I was facilitating groups in prison. What I learned was when I was completely open and honest about all my garbage and I shared it, it didn't have power over me anymore. So that's got rid of the shame, right? And other people helped me carry that. I'm like, I did this. And they're like, yeah, we did too. I did this. Yeah, we did too. It was just like, oh, well, and you're human and you're still okay.
Yeah.
And so that was the freedom for me. So I came home and I went, I refuse to be afraid. Like I go to the LDS church, but my first time back, I got up and I bore my testimony and said, I just got back from prison. Thank you for cheering me on. And everybody sat there like,
Like,
what is this to do? I was like, well, what is this going to be uncomfortable? It's either going to be you or me. And I'm tired of being uncomfortable. So I'm going to be open and honest.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
So do I.
I'm tired of being uncomfortable, so it's either you or me.
And how did your husband and family receive you?
My husband is like a hero. He really is.
Sounds like it.
He's unusually.
And he has a beard, so he's perfect.
He's amazing. He's kind and he's good and he's supportive. And he was very depressed when I was gone. Very.
I get that.
He
How could you
really
not?
struggled. And
I would have our time if my wife left like that.
Yeah, it's so difficult. We are so happy. Like, I can't even tell you when I got home, the first time I held his hand, how excited I was. Like, just to be with him and close to him. And it's interesting because I've had a lot of people say, like, I can't believe your husband waited for you. I would have never done that. And I say, yeah, but I was worth the wait.
Well, and it's also,
I did the time. I didn't just go screw it off. Like a lot of, I didn't. I worked so hard. And
You worked on yourself.
I did. And he knew that. I was worth the wait. And I tell people that in prison all the time. I'm like, be worth the job. Work on your character. If you do that internal work, you'll come home and the world will show up for you.
well, and I think that's what people would hope would happen.
It does.
Right?
It
and
does.
and
Not
if-
quick,
it
not
probably
easy. It's a journey, but it happens.
Kyle
probably
was talking
happens
about
more-
how he went to some of the places to find jobs and they wouldn't do it because they remember who he was.
Yeah.
before.
and he was in Hawaii, so it was very tighter knit,
yeah,
right?
it's-
But that's the thing too is that I love that you said I was worth the wait, but at the same time too, like this is one thing we talk about a lot is that like stop judging other people based off of whatever your life expectations are or
Right.
your life judgments are of kind of like your like to make a judgment or a statement about somebody else's relationship based off what you guys have been through.
Right.
Probably not knowing all of the ins and outs of everything before you met your husband and everything else that you had went through, and so that's
He's
where it's
just
just.
amazing.
Yeah.
I'm of the firm believer that
But to
people need to
forgive
learn.
yourself?
Yeah.
Oh,
Holy
that's
crap, that was hard. That would be so hard for
That
me.
is not something that happened overnight.
Well, and that's the thing is, it
takes
didn't
time.
happen overnight, and
No.
you went through all of this stuff, and this is why I'm a firm believer that people need to learn to shut up. Like people need to literally
I
learn.
didn't say that on my
Yeah,
social media. Learn to shut up.
you have
Your
no
opinions.
you have no idea what someone else has been through.
Facts.
And that you have no idea that especially in the mental health world, you get everybody who says, "Oh, you're too woke, oh, you're too soft, or you're too much of a snowflake." I'm like, you don't understand that
What
to
it took me to get
some people, trigger management is one of the most taxing things you will do all day long, and you already riddled with insecurities, and it takes one random person who's projecting their insecurities onto you
Yeah, it
to
says
make
more about them
themselves
than
feel
you.
better.
Everybody's comments and opinions says more about them.
But
than you.
sometimes that hurts.
Oh yeah,
Because they go
I've
after
had
what
those.
you are already thinking bad about yourself.
For sure.
They
I
go
felt
after
it.
that and you're like, oh.
Well,
It
and
hurts.
this is
Yeah.
completely unrelated, but where my mind's going, and I told Tyson about this yesterday, is I had a self-reflecting checking moment the other day. I've got a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
My 9-year-old is brilliant. She's amazing. My son is my son. Like, like I love him to death. He's the most creative little kid, but he's still just a little boy.
Yeah.
And he got into just a playing situation at a play place. And this older gentleman that obviously has some issues decided that he needed to take discipline into his own hand and was nose to nose screaming at my kid.
Oh man.
And it was in that moment
didn't
where
blackmail
older
him?
Logan or younger Logan almost came into play. And it took me a minute to realize, like, in my arguments with this guy of like, it doesn't really matter in this moment what you think my 7-year-old did. You are a 50-something-year-old man.
Yeah.
And it's like, the whole rest of the day, even though I'm fuming about it, I'm like, there is something that man feels so emasculated over.
Right.
And like it could be recent, it could be old, something that he's never addressed in his life, that he
that's the
lorded over
compassion.
some random 7-year-old and scared the ever-living hell out of him. My son came to me hyperventilating. Some man just screamed at me, and my daughter was like white-faced, like, Dad, this guy, like, and then it was like hackles go up. But
Yeah.
that's the thing is,
Yeah.
younger me would have been like cracking knuckles and wanting to go take care of this, but I'm sitting there the rest of the
Like,
day.
how broken is this man?
Well,
Where's
and
he
my
at,
wife
you
brought a
know?
ton of perspective and being like, you know, this guy's obviously got some major issues and he'll be dealt with in the right ways of being removed from being able to go back to this place. But it's like,
Yeah.
in that moment, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, my son was so terrified.
Yeah.
And the fact that this guy
Traumatic.
couldn't see past his own face of how he was terrifying that. And then you self-reflect of like, there's times where I traumatized my kids because I couldn't see past my own issues and I was so angry. And so I love this self-reflection
Yeah.
talk, because if we all spent more time
Yeah.
focusing in than focusing out, I think the world would be a much happier place.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it's crazy. You know, there are so many challenging experiences, and a lot of times I think, I'll take mine. Like mine, I'm grateful. Like my life is more beautiful. I'm 53. My life is more beautiful now than it's ever been. And that I could not see that. When you're in the middle, that's the hard part. When you were in the middle of your struggle, I shared before, I because of my experiences, I've been able to do some things in my family and their struggles with mental health that are pretty sacred to me. My brother, severely bipolar, was on the streets, homeless, brilliant guy, had had so many successes, and he went into a depressive episode and he took his life. And I was there. I was able to do some things for my parents and my brother. One of the things that I was able to do that was a complete honor to my brother was I was able to donate his organs. That was something that I knew he would want. He suffered so much. Nobody will ever understand how brave he was. Nobody. Like, he's my hero. I wrote my second book because of what I went through with my brother. And my parents, my whole view of my parents changed after that. Like, I love my parents and I've been able to support them, and I knew that's what my brother needed me to do. And we just don't understand, you know, we don't understand where other people have been. And because of those experiences, I get people that reach out and say, you know, hey, my kid's going to prison, or hey, we just lost our son, or whatever it is that they're struggling with. There's beauty on the other side. Even of that experience, there's been beauty on the other side. There's been tenderness, these moments. You have to allow yourself to feel it and walk through it, though. And that's hard. You have to be brave.
How do you forgive someone who's hurt you? Like we're talking a little bit. I know it's kind of my mind went somewhere where someone's really hurt me and my family.
Okay.
But they're part of the family.
Sure.
How do you forgive that person so it doesn't linger on you?
So for me, it brought up a lot of them. I mean, there's 7 rowdy kids in our family, and when we lost one, it brought up all kinds of emotions, right? For me, I really make these decisions. I say, what do I want the ending to be? What do I want the ending to be? And then I'm very disciplined in my thoughts. I want to have a beautiful relationship with my siblings, even though this person's done this to hurt me. The other thing that I do is I have to give compassion, because I need it so desperately. Like, I am a sinner. I am a broken person who's made so many mistakes. So I challenge myself to have compassion for others because I need it. And I think what we give, we get back.
I really, really like, where do I want the end to be?
Yeah.
Because that's,
the
if you
best
think
thing.
about it, you're just like, I know where all of us together. And
Pick the end.
yeah.
I've done it in my marriage. And you know, it's not like it's easy street. I
No.
come home, I don't know my husband, I don't know my kids. We have to get to know each other. And I had changed so much. It was like a whole new person when I
Yeah.
came home.
Oh, yeah.
And my husband had been home with the kids. But the best thing that I have ever chosen to do is decide what I want my end to be. And this is why. Because I was in prison so broken and realized, if I have an amazing ending, everything will make sense. And so I choose my ending, and then I live my life according to it. And it takes a lot of work. It doesn't happen overnight. But if you pick your ending, you've got to decide what you want that ending to be.
Ooh,
Yep.
I like that. Choose your ending. I mean, that's
No,
essentially
That's serious. I'm glad I asked that question because
That's
that meant
essentially
a lot
just-
to me. So thank you.
another definition of basically like, law of attraction and manifesting
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
choosing your own path. And I love that because this is just, these type of conversations bring so much perspective to me. Because like you said, it's not the adage of like, well, somebody else has it worse, right? We kind of touched on that, but it's your level 10 could look different on the surface than my level 10 or Tyson's
Right.
level 10 or anybody
It
else.
always does,
It's
yeah.
it's a level 10 is a level 10, like you
Right.
said, and of something that you've been through. And so I like the choose your own path, choose your own ending. It's going to take some time. Like this is what relatability is.
Yeah.
Even though your details of your story might look different than somebody who's listening or somebody else who has been farther down the path or a different path, it's about that human connection. And I love how much you've touched on just self-awareness and emotional intelligence, because that empathy is a game changer.
I want to say one thing as we wrap it up. I want people to know there is nothing you can't come back from. There's nothing you can't come back from. And that my brother had suffered and been in deeper lows than I ever had. And I kept saying, I know you can come back from this. And his path was a little bit different. But wherever you are, like there were times where I couldn't see that there was a comeback for me if I went to prison. Like I can't come back from that. How do I? I will be destroyed in the community. My family will lose me. My husband will leave me. And when I really just started focusing on what I could do, what can I do to repair myself and heal myself, everything came back and more. You can come back from really hard things.
That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm starting to understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can.
Portia, thank you so much for this, like the perspective and the stories and everything. This is why we love what we do, and we're grateful to be able to have the opportunity to do what we do and interview so many different people, is because it gives not only gives us a ton of perspective, but we feel like we can turn around and add value to everybody who's taking the time to listen, because I love that. Like there's nothing, you're never too far gone.
Yeah.
And you have to attach that to a whole crap ton of self-love.
Right.
And so, if you haven't yet, go check out Portia. We'll link all of your guys.
PortiaLouder.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll find me there.
I'm gonna
follow
check
you
out
now, too.
I'm gonna check out your books for sure. Especially the second one is A Man Living
Yeah.
with Bipolar.
It's Born to be Brave.
that one.
Yeah.
That one hit me.
Yeah.
I
You'll
kind
love
of
that book.
took me back there for a second.
Yeah.
I know. He and I probably could sit and talk for hours if that was ever, if that were to be possible. But
Yeah.
thank
It's
you.
amazing. Yeah,
Thank you for
thanks for
sharing your
having me.
story. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being a voice for people and helping change people's perspectives and changing people's definitions and
I
understanding.
just like that you've taken a negative in such a positive way, and then now you're helping people. I think that's amazing.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Thanks for having me. All right.
Well, thanks so much for listening, you guys. Check out Portia on all of the social media platforms, and catch you next week.
Toodles.